My name is Lawrence Bloom. I'm the chair of the United Nations Environmental Programme Green Economy Initiative, Green Buildings, Cities and Transport sector, and I'm a former chair and current councillor of the Global Agenda Council on Urban Management for the World Economic Forum at Davos, where I'm a regular speaker. In the last 3 years, MIT reviewed 10 future scenario planning projects, including IPCC and 2 that were produced by the Shell Future Scenario team. The 2 Shell projects, one was called Scramble, which is we have a problem, what the hell we're going to do. The other was called Blueprints, which was predicated on the fact that government and academia, science and NGOs and corporations would work in close collaboration with each other in order to bring BEAM as quickly as possible to deal with climate change issues. The Blueprint scenario from Shell was the most optimistic of the 10, and even that predicated 650 parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere. We know that definitely at 450 parts per million, and more likely at 350 parts per million, the seas begin to become acidic. When the seas begin to become acidic, the coral reefs die, and then the seas that are carbon sinks for carbon begin to become net emitters of carbon, creating a feedback loop which increases temperatures generally, speeds up the melting of the ice caps, and then the release of methane, which is currently locked in the tundra, which itself then becomes another feedback loop. So we have a problem, a serious problem. And we need to look at the causes of this problem. I believe one of the major causes, if not the major cause, or to find the major cause, we have to look deeper into the issue. I think what's happening outside of ourselves is a reflection of our inner state. And our inner state is currently lacking vision. And it's lacking vision because we lack values. At the moment, we look for answers outside of ourselves. So we look for self-esteem in buying a bigger car, or we look for happiness in GDP, or we look for serenity in taking drugs, pharmaceutical or recreational. And we actually look for prosperity in a system that's unsustainable. We need to look at these values, and we need to start to recognize our connectedness with each other, with the planet that gives us life, with the cosmos that gave us birth, and with ourselves. And we would discover that there is a oneness to all things, and all things depend upon each other. It's not the planet that's in peril. The planet has been here for 4 billion years and will last another 4 billion years. Climate will change, species will vary, but it's not the planet that's in peril, it's us that are in peril. And so we need to shift our values, and we need to start to recognize the oneness behind all things, the interconnectedness behind all things. As Seattle says, man did not create the web of life, but he is part of it. And whatever he does to the web, he does to himself. So the time for talking is over, and the time for action has begun. We need to create a vision that people can comfortably buy into and put their energy behind, a vision that would allow for behavior change, a vision that would make people realize that in reusing and recycling and conserving, they're supporting nature, and they're becoming part of nature and part of the ecological cycle. And the second thing we need to do is we need to look at initiatives which make a difference. Currently, I am involved in such an initiative in Brazil. Brazil are the first country in the world to commit themselves state by state and city by city to reducing carbon emissions by 80% by 2020. Minas Gerais, one of the largest states, has signed as the first state to make that commitment. Curitiba has signed as the first city, and Rio will sign within the next 8 to 10 weeks. And my team have undertaken to create rapid response teams that will go into each state and each city to advise them on how to reduce their carbon emissions, and at the same time create resilience to deal with issues like transport and beyond that, food and water and poverty. Brazil, it looks as if it may be an acupuncture point, a point that when impacted will shift the system. And I have great aspirations that as the system shifts, many other acupuncture points will reveal themselves. So we need two things. We need to recognize that we need a different vision. Without vision, the people perish. The new vision will come from shifting values. And shifting values will come from increasing moral leadership, which will be demonstrated, hopefully, within the faith community, within the academic community, and by people everywhere. The time for us to make our next evolutionary step has come. The time for us to discover our oneness has arrived. And now we must act in a spiritual way by grounding spirit on the planet, by recognizing the oneness of each other and the sacredness of life, and learning how to respect that and change our current models of society.